Okay, so we're going to do our Unit 1 exam review here, let you know what's going to be on the test, how it's going to be tested, okay, things of that nature. In regards to the test itself, okay, there is a multiple choice section, okay, that has 33 questions. Okay, they're all very quick type of questions. They're like recall information, like here's a reaction, what type is it, or who came up with the atomic theory, like recall stuff you'd know like that. Okay, should be able to do the multiple choice in basically no time at all. Okay? About 10, 15 minutes tops. Okay, maybe all it would take for you to get that part of the test done. Okay, then there is the written response part. Okay, and in the written response, there are 6 items. Now, some of those items have A, B, C. Okay, like for example, the first question is all balancing. Okay, the first written response question is 7 reactions to balance. Just balance, nothing else, just balance. Okay. And then question number 2 is 4 reactions that need to be predicted. Okay. Like I said, it looks just like your practice test. Your practice test is the same thing. Okay, so you got 4 reactions where I will give you the reactants in word form, okay, and you will have to write out the reaction with products in formula form. Okay, balanced, identify it, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, and then there is a question about atomic structure where you will be asked to draw a picture of an atom. Okay. So making sure you get all the particles in the right place and that it looks like an atom, that we believe an atom looks like. Then there are mole equation questions for 1 of each of the types that we've gone over in class. Okay, so nothing you haven't seen or done already. Okay, there's a question about water and why it's different, its structure. So I would say reviewing lesson 7 about the polar nature of water, okay, would be important. Okay, understanding what a polar molecule is, being able to explain that to me. Okay, look at some examples of strange behaviors of water, stuff like that. Okay, so make sure you're ready for that one. And then the last question is the separating the wheat from the chaff question. Okay, it's the one that's going to make you think and apply a lot of your knowledge from this unit. Okay, it's going to involve some stuff about reactions, it's going to involve some stuff about solubility. That is as much as I will tell you about it, okay? But you will need to, this is the one that tells me whether you read, like where your level of understanding is, okay? If you have a really good level of understanding of the concepts we've gone over and you can apply them to a novel situation, okay? That's kind of the highest level you can be at, okay? If you can look at it and go, well, I think it's about this, okay, well, that's good, okay? And then if there's, I have no clue what's going on, okay, then that's not good. All right, so it's a question that basically tells me, were you able to do and understand and grasp absolutely everything in this unit? Okay. Now, it's not saying that if you don't, you're not going to get any marks for that question. Write something for that question. Okay. There's marks available. Okay, for basically every level of understanding on that question. Okay. But I always have a question like that on every test that kind of really shows me where you're at. So that's your test. 33 multiple choice, 6 written response. There are 51 marks in the written response, okay? Because a lot of the questions are out of like 4 or 5. Okay, so there's a lot of marks in each one. Okay. First thing we went over in this unit, okay? History and structure of the atom. All right. There's definitely going to be some multiple choice about history of the atom. Okay, atomic theory. It'd be really easy to make a multiple choice question about Dalton's atomic theory because it's got 4 points. So I go, which of the following is not one of Dalton's points of his atomic theory, A, B, C, or D, okay, something like that. I would also know some of the important historical moments in the history of the atom. So obviously Dalton would be a pretty important one. Okay, Rutherford proving the existence of the nucleus is probably pretty important. Okay, knowing who discovered protons, neutrons, and electrons is probably important. Okay, just kind of know the progression in the history of the atom. So just review your notes from lesson 1. And as we already said, there's going to be a written response question where you're going to be asked to draw a diagram, okay, of an atom. I will tell you which one. Okay, you will have to draw a picture of that particular atom, okay, with the right number of protons, neutrons, electrons, with them in the right places according to the currently accepted model of the atom. Now, if you're really looking for a place to get a good review of that, watch the recording from that day, because I do exactly this that day in the class recording. Okay, after that we went over naming compounds. There's going to be obviously some multiple choice questions about that. Okay, what's the proper name for NaCl? Or what's the proper formula for iron 2 oxide? Okay, things like that. You can definitely get some multiple choice about naming. But naming is more important because when you're writing reactions or doing mole equation calculations, you have to be able to write the right formulas for those compounds. Okay, so that is crucial. You must be able to do that. Okay, and then we went over properties of compounds. Okay, we did a lab on that where we identified some unknown compounds based on their physical properties. There are going to be some multiple choice questions about that. Okay, like maybe I have something like this. You have an unknown compound that is a red crystalline solid that dissolves easily in water, whose solution conducts electricity very well and has a pH of 6. The most likely identity of this would be A, water, B, alcohol, C, copper 2 sulfate, D, cobalt 2 chloride. Which one would it be? Cobalt, yeah, exactly. It's a red crystalline solid. All ionic compounds containing cobalt are red. Okay, that kind of thing. So review lesson 4. Okay, that's where you will find that stuff. Okay, as well as your lab report. Okay, and then for solubility, okay, know your terminology. What a solute is, what a solvent is, precipitate, okay, saturated, okay, that kind of stuff. Know the terms because there could be some multiple choice about terminology. There's also going to be some multiple choice that's going to ask you to do exactly the same thing that question number 2 in your reactions lab asked you to do. Here's a reaction. Which, if any, of the products are soluble? Okay, or which of the products is a precipitate, meaning which one's not soluble. So you'd have to use your solubility chart to figure that out. Okay? Okay, and as I was saying to you before when I was telling you what was on the test, okay, in the written response, there's an application question about solubility and reactions. That's the lead from the chat question I was telling you about. Okay, so make sure you've gone over your notes on reaction types and solubility, okay, for that. Okay, and then I was also saying, okay, there's a written response question about the polar nature of water. So make sure that you review what a polar molecule is, because that'll be part of the explanation, being able to explain what a polar molecule is. Okay, be able to explain hydrogen bonds. Okay, we talked about hydrogen bonds and that they cause two behaviors of water. Okay, those two behaviors being cohesion and adhesion. Okay, those would definitely be things you would want to explain, okay, or have knowledge of for that polar nature of water question. And how some living things use the polar nature of water. Okay, we talked about how plants use that to transport water. That was one of the examples we talked about. Okay, and then reactions. Okay, if there's one thing that's worth more marks than anything else on this test, it's reactions. There's reactions in the multiple choice. There's obviously a lot of reactions in the written response as well. Okay, so what I mean by reactions is this: be able to identify reaction types. I mean, you have to be able to do that to do your prediction stuff, and you guys are good at that, so that's fine. Okay, just make sure you know there are 5 reaction types. Okay, know how to balance the reactions. Okay, especially combustion, because they've got those separate set of rules. Okay, being able to match things up, put them in the right order. Okay, doing your swaps and drops, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so reactions, definitely a big one because they're in the multiple choice. That would be just identifying types. Okay, and then in the written response, there's balancing. Okay, writing them out, identifying types, predicting products. Okay, all of those skills that we spent weeks going over in this unit. Mole equation. I've already said to you, okay, there's going to be one of each of the 4 types that we went over in class. And so there'll be one where you'll have to calculate the number of moles. Okay, one where you'll have to calculate the mass. One where you'll have to calculate the number of molecules in a given mass. And one where you're given the number of molecules and has to calculate the mass. Okay, one of each of the 4 types. Okay. If you're working on mole equation calculations at home and you're not understanding them, where can you go to see them solved? Okay, well, the answer sheet will tell you the answer, but where can you go to actually see them be done?
Your YouTube channel?
Yeah, exactly. Just you can go to my YouTube channel. Just go back in Google Classroom to any of the days where we went over the mole equation, and there's me. Okay, there's a recording of the questions that we went over in class. Okay, in case you just need to see them done step by step. There's no shame in that. That's what I put it up there for. Okay, it doesn't hurt if you're stuck to watch it done. Okay. Okay, right. Multiple choice. So, talking about the test here. Okay, you guys have all used the zip grade bubble sheets before, right? Okay, the zip grade is awesome. when you come to the test on Monday, please bring at least one pencil, if not two, okay? And use the pencil for the multiple choice. Because inevitably, what I have people do, okay, is they've got they read through the question, they gut reaction, they're like, oh yeah, it's B, and they go, and they fill it in like they're supposed to, and then they're like, oh, no, it's not that one. And instead of erasing it, or if they did it in pen, they're screwed anyway, okay, they go like this, they draw an X through it, and then they go, nope, it was actually this one. And then they're like, oh, no, I'm wrong twice. And they'll actually do this. They'll draw an arrow, and they'll do this. That all works on a really erroneous assumption, that I'm going to look at it. Okay, ZipGrade works like this. I put my phone into ZipGrade, and I hold it over the test. It scans it, and I look at the number, and that's it. Okay? If you do this, do you know what ZipGrade says? It's wrong, because there aren't 3 correct answers. Okay? It can't read. It doesn't know what this means, and I'm not double checking it. Okay? So, if you have to change something, erase it completely. All right? My suggestion is always to do this. Okay? Just put a little tiny X the first time through. Okay? And then if you decide you want to change it, you only have to erase that little tiny X. Okay? When you're all done and you're sure of your answers, then you can go, all right, no, it's that one. Okay? And then you won't have any trouble. All right? So just make sure that you're being careful with the multiple choice. Okay? Because ZipGrade is great, works awesome. I can always go back and double check if I need to. Okay? If anything comes up and you think it made a mistake, I can always look back because it actually takes a picture of your test. Okay? And then I can go back and look at the original version of your ZipGrade form. Okay? And I say the original version because I've had people try this little trick. They think they're very clever. Okay? After we've gone through the test, they change some of their answers and they say, Mr. Coderre, look, it marked these ones wrong. And then I pull up the picture of their test when the way it looked when I marked it, and I'm like, liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay? Yeah, so just know that won't work. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. That happened like a week ago. Okay? So, that one won't work. Okay, not that any of you would try that, but. All right, so in terms of marks. Okay, so marks on the test. I've already told you what's on the test. Let's look at the marks distribution, okay, on the test. So, in the written response alone, okay, there are 23 marks in the written response out of 51 that are about reactions. So nearly half. Okay, you got 7 balancing, worth 1 each, and you got 4 prediction questions worth 4 marks each. Okay, for a total of 23 marks on reactions. Okay, so is reactions worth spending some time on? Definitely. Okay? And that's why I want to be able to get your reaction assignments back to you so you can use them to study over the weekend. Okay? And then in the multiple choice reactions, there's only 2 marks on reactions in the multiple choice. It's basically what type of reaction is this? Okay, it's just identifying type. All right, so you got 25 marks out of 84. Okay, so it's like a third of the test. Okay, is on reactions. A third of the marks on the test are on reactions. Okay, and then probably the next biggest thing would be the mole equation, because we're looking at 14 marks for mole equation. And then there's kind of just a smattering of the other stuff, but those are definitely the 2 biggest ones. Okay. There's also a couple of questions about scientific method. Have What I mean by that is, I describe an experiment to you, and you have to identify the manipulated variable or the responding variable, okay? Like you would have to do on a lab report in class, okay? So I would describe an experiment, and then you'd have to say, oh, well, the manipulated variable there is this, okay? Or the responding variable is this. Right? So there's a couple of multiple choice questions about that. Okay, questions from you guys? Anything you want me to review, okay, go over in more detail, talk about?
No. Going to be able to multiplication testing.
Oh, your quizzes. Right, I've been hoarding those. How about I hand those back right now? Okay, how about, while I'm handing those out, you guys look over the review sheet, see if anything comes to mind that you would like to ask, okay? And then I'll answer questions after I hand back all the quizzes I've been hoarding over there. Okay? Okay, for strange behaviors of water, what I mean is, like, what are some things that water does that most other things don't? Okay, like expands when it freezes, clings to the sides of objects, okay, those hydrogen bonds type of behaviors, cohesion and adhesion. You don't see non-polar molecules doing that. Okay. What else, guys? Okay, well, you've got some time then to work on the review package I gave you. Okay, if there aren't any questions, okay, then let's get to work on the review package. Hopefully that will trigger some more questions. Okay, all you have to do is ask. We'll over them up here.